Welcome to another episode of Stronger Nurse News with your girl, Stronger Nurse, and also my friend and senior recruiter at Epic Travel Staffing, Janine Dupron. So, today, and I know it's a lot of travel nurses out there that are as worried as I am. There's been a lot of chatter since 2022 about travel nurse salary pay caps. And so far, there is one state that we know of that is passing legislation through the House and the Senate, I believe, right now to put a cap on travel nursing's pay. So I know that Congress also started looking into its act called the Travel Nursing Agency Transparency Study. And this was in July of 2022, where they were talking about capping travel nurse pay in Massachusetts and Minnesota. And the main reason why they were doing this was because of COVID-19. Now, let's fast forward, and right now we're still in 2024. COVID-19 has not gone away, but it has subsided to the point where they become very lax, let me tell you, on some of the rules and regulations for like masking and isolation and also quarantining. So one thing that never went away, though, outside of COVID, was the staffing shortage. It still exists. And if anything, it's going to get worse. So I know we talked about the travel nurse, like crisis as far as like, will we need travel nurses? And we came to the conclusion together that travel nursing ain't going nowhere. And the staffing shortage is only going to continue to get worse. And so now there's legislation to to cap our pay. Let's make this make sense. So I'm going to bring Janine up and let Janine explain to us from an agency perspective what she sees going on with the pay cap.
I think I got a bug in my eye. Well, on that note, I have to make this very clear because I know there's like a bunch of what I like to call hogwash out there about pay in general. Let me be very, very clear that the pay budget set for whatever job it is, it comes from the facility. I don't care what the facility says. I know during COVID, they were trying to say a bunch of stuff and pass all these legislations because it was unfair and blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, the agencies were the ones getting blamed because nobody wanted to take accountability for what they were actually doing. It has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with the MSP or the vendor or the VMS. Nothing. It has everything to do with the facility. The facility is the one who sets the tone. Now, they don't have to put rates up that high for COVID, but they did. So now we're in this, frenzy. And I do remember you talking about the Massachusetts and what was the other?
Minnesota.
I remember that vaguely. I remember Congress getting involved in all that stuff, but it kind of went and they don't really talk about it anymore. I'm assuming because they realize they're ridiculous and they don't know what they're talking about. But I could be wrong there. It could be still in discussion. But ultimately, from what I understand in the conversations I had, ultimately, that'll never happen. We're in a democracy essentially, and there's a supply and demand, and that's where your pay is going to come from. So it might seem a little wonky now, but it could go back up. It could stay where it's at for another few years. We just won't ever know. But you guys are a skilled trade. It's like telling an electrician or a plumber, oh, no, we don't need you. No, we need you still. Even in the world of AI, we all have flushing toilets and we all have electrical stuff. And we need those people. And they get paid so well. I know we're talking about nursing, but in general, electricians don't even have to go to college to become an electrician. They can go to trade school,
right?
Electrical license, and they're making, 6 figures and stuff. And I just read a thing about Texas. They're making over $250,000 a year running their own business. Too, because they're in demand. Now, if they worked for Roto-Rooter, I'm sure they're not making 100,000 or whatever it is. But I'm sure they're still making good money because they know you can't just pick up everybody off the street and be like, you want to be a plumber? Let's do this. You want to be an electrician? Let's do this. Houses will be burning down, flooding, God else knows what. And it's the same idea and concept with the nursing world. Now,
right.
You can't go to any Joe Schmo on the street and be like, you want to be a nurse? You want to go give med?
Right.
Online?
Well,
So at some point, like, that's what they're missing. So, for example, I know everybody's freaking out about Iowa right now, but honestly, I'm not freaked out about Iowa. And let me tell you why. Primarily, the big thing that some people aren't focusing on is like, yes, the House passed it, but we have check and balances, right? So it has to go through 2 other approvals before it can get approved. So it could essentially be hogwashed out the door at any moment in time. On the other hand, again, we're back to the facility. It says it can't pay more than like 150% of what the staff workers are making, I think it said. Yeah. Okay, so whatever the facility is setting, the travelers are still, like, you could still potentially make more than that. They're just trying to make it a little more fair. But not for anything, I've only have had a few people in Iowa, and it's a lot. It's good for people who like to be outdoors.
Okay.
But there's not a lot of them. There's not a whole lot of people like to be outdoors like that all the time. And I mean, bless the ones that they are. I'm somewhere in the middle. That's just me. But it's really they want to keep people there. They want to bring people in. They're going to have to raise their rates. Like, it's just what it is. So, and at some point, they're going to have to raise the rates for their staff as well to keep up with the market trends and yada, 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 yada. I mean, I live in Kentucky, and they're bringing in people from all over the place with some crazy incentives because there's a shortage. And we have Kentucky actually has some of the highest obesity and, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, but like, they have the highest rates of hormone disease.
Okay.
What I'm looking for, I think it is. And like, they're bringing people in from all the time because they're overworked, they're overflooded. And what does that mean? Better pay? You're going to have to, hands down, because we don't have enough nurses. We don't have enough nurse practitioners.
We don't have enough nurses. Is that what you said?
We don't have enough nurses. So again, all of it, no matter, like, even if they were to pass the bill in Iowa, okay, you passed the bill in Iowa, but all you did was nothing because essentially the rates are pretty comparable to that anyways for travelers. Like, if you go work staff, the staff job's like maybe $50 or $60 an hour, depending where you are. I'm just throwing a number out there. But say that same facility wants to bring in a traveler, their bill rate's going to be like $76. So you might make $20 or $16 more an hour than the staff. But of course, you're getting tax-free money, and it might break down differently and all that stuff. But again, you get tax-free money and you're not held to that facility. So if you ever go there and you're like, nope, I'm 13 and out, like, screw this place. You're not tied to it like people who actually work there. So,
I mean, like, travel is like a try before you buy.
Right, exactly. I remember we talked about this last time. They're like mortgage contracts, right? So the staff people, they might work there, but they might have 5 different contracts going on with their permanent staff, with the facility and HR, whatever they've negotiated out. So we have to take all that into play too. Like, it's never going to be a one Band-Aid fixes all issue.
Oh no.
And I think our government loves to try to do those things, and they're great in theory, but not reality, as we all know. So, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
I wouldn't be either. I mean, like, majority of the time, the biggest state that when they pass legislation and all the rest follow is typically California. So honestly, I would say that if California put legislation in the House to cap travel nurse pay, I would be afraid. Like, I would, because this is where all the money's at. I mean, like, one of the biggest needs, I believe I read, it was 78,000 nurses short in the state of California alone. That's not including all the rest of them, right?
So again, we don't have enough nurses.
We don't have enough nurses, right? And
gotta give.
On top of that, though, not only do we not have enough nurses, we don't have enough skilled nurses to be travel nurses. There is a very distinct kind of personality and a kind of character that you have to be a travel nurse. It just is not for everybody. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is a lot of people flocked into travel nursing when the pandemic hit. And I don't blame them. I mean, I would have did the same thing, but I didn't. I did something different at that time, but I've been a travel nurse for a long time, right? And so like I've been doing travel nursing for so long that I knew that to go chase that money at that time was probably not the best thing for me, right? Because it would further perpetuate the lifestyle that I created, which was unsustainable. And then I watched so many people literally do that. They create unsustainable lifestyles to themselves that they work in like 6 days a week in order to survive. And so then they hear like, okay, some of them working 2 travel contracts, or some of them working, you know, a per diem on a travel contract. And then they're like, you know, the rates are already getting cut. And they
I'm
keep.
glad you brought up 2 travel contracts at the same time, because I'm going to throw this tidbit in there. I know people don't talk about it, but legally you are not allowed to work 2 travel contracts at the same time that are both bringing in tax-free money. You can only have one of your contracts bringing in tax-free money, and the other contract has to be all taxed. If you are caught double dipping, you will get flagged, and they will come back for their money. And trust me, the IRS don't play. I know, I've been there. Long time ago, but I've been there.
Oh, wow. So have you heard, like, do you have any nurses currently that have told you that they're working 2 contracts, or do they try?
But I have in the past, and I've even had some ask like to work 2. For Epic, we don't allow you to work 2. You literally have to interview with like all of our management team, and 9 times out of 10, they'll still say no, mostly because they don't want burnout. On top of that, burnout equals bad patient care. Now we're talking about injury risk and, you know, insurances and all kinds of other stuff that could happen. So that is like a no-go for us essentially. But I have heard of nurses being like, oh, I'm with one agency and I'm going to go work with another agency, and it slips, or they don't tell them anything. Well, that's fine. You don't have to tell me. That's your business. I totally get that. But if you want me to be your friend and on your side and be your ally, don't do it. Don't do it.
Thank you. Thank you. So then I have another question. And so if they're capping travel nurse pay, would that also possibly apply to like what is it, the per diem positions through staffing agencies as well? Like, you know,
shouldn't. I've never heard of anything like that, because even if you do like PRN,
right,
that's all taxable. And essentially you can work anywhere in the whole world if they're big enough, right? Like I think it's we just talked about this company. I can't think about drawing a blank, but there is an there's a VNMS out there that is big in HCA. There we go.
Yes, HCA, Health Trust.
My chest came forward. HCA, like they do PRN, like, but they're all over. You know?
Right, they're all over.
So you could be PRN with them in your home state and then go do a travel assignment and pick up a PRN shift wherever that is, as long as you're licensed.
Okay.
It just really depends. And there's a lot of people who hold on to agency PRN, even through like, you know, if you have like a gap in between your assignments and stuff like that, so that their skills are up to par.
Okay, so I have a question then. So I came across an agency the other day, and I saw this in Los Angeles when I was working there too. And they do per diem shifts, but the per diem shift is both a taxable rate and a non-taxable rate. And they reimburse you for meals and incidentals and housing on top of a tax rate. Yes, they do. And I'm out here on a travel assignment. Can I work that per diem job and still work my travel assignment too?
Was that USC?
Huh?
Was that so? USC and cross country had done this weird thing with us before COVID, and then it kind of worked out, but kind of not really. And we're not doing it anymore. But it was essentially a 4-week assignment, and but you were like a PRN, but you were on a contract. And that's how they worked it out with us. But the caveat to that was that you literally did not know your schedule till the week of. And they could schedule you whenever they wanted. So the rates were higher, you know, and like people were drawn to that. But it was literally like Tuesday, you get your shift schedule for the rest of the week. And it comes out every week. And so it kind of fizzled during COVID because COVID. But I haven't seen anything like that outside of that or heard of it, but I mean, it's possible.
Okay. Well, I did. You know me, I'm always digging around looking for another agency, another job, or something like that. I mean, essentially, this is a resource for other nurses, right,
Right.
in the travel industry. So I'm doing my due diligence. I'm looking around. There's other people that I work with. They're like, hey, I want to pick up some extra overtime. There's no overtime in my job right now, and I want to pick up per diem, shifts somewhere locally. And there are companies that do that, like out here. I'm signed up with Medley and looked in the cross country out here. And then there's another company I just stumbled across. It's called InSync Consulting or something. And then there's another agency I came across that does private duty nursing as well. So like
that's interesting. You can go work for like John Travolta or something.
I work for people with wealth, actually. When I was in Los Angeles, I did. I worked for some very wealthy people, billionaires. Doing
it was a great time. I'm sure you're like, whoa, this is interesting.
It was very interesting.
Their concept of life is like way beyond normal, like you and I.
I mean, just watching them raise their children, and that I feel like is the most interesting part. It's not about the adult. It's how the adults, now that they have wealth, right? Because they may be a first or second generation person that has wealth, but how are they raising their children to continue to carry wealth and preserve wealth throughout their, you know what I'm saying?
We talk about this off camera because I was watching this one girl and and she was talking about how she used to be this huge stockbroker in New York for like the big wig people, and she basically started her own thing. I'll have to send her to you, but she was like, you want to know how they do wealth? The moment they're born, they basically set up like a trust fund, and they like that trust fund invests in RFIs or something like that, and like real estate, whatever, and then they grow it. Yeah, and then basically when they go to college, like it just pays for everything because by that time.
Yes,
but I'm like, how much did they put in there though? Like that's the question, right? Like, okay, I did the same thing, but my kid only invests $100 a month. Their kids are investing like 50 grand a month. There's a huge difference. Come on.
It is a huge difference. But yeah, that actually is something that I am working on for Stronger Nurse Network. Actually, is a exit strategy for nurses as far as managing their wealth. Because I mean, let's be honest. As travel nurses in particular, without having to go back to school to get like an advanced practice degree or anything like that, right? You can go into travel nursing with a year or two of experience in whatever you became a nurse in and go make more money than somebody or the same money as somebody with an advanced practice degree. So
that, and I think, and you might be able to attest to this, but I think that sometimes traveling puts on the rose-colored glasses for some nurses.
Oh God,
yes. You get so used to, even that the rates are now, like they're still better than staff. And I know it's hard to see because staff is really lucrative right now, but we know it's not going to last forever, right? Right. So you get in this motion of tax-free money and living your best life and doing this and doing that
every week.
You got the new Dior saddlebag that I'm obsessed with, and like, and then you go staff, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, you forget that a 3-month contract brought you almost 40 grand. Like, what other job does that?
Right. In a short period of time.
A 13-week period, it's hard to see the big picture until you like look back. So I try really hard to show on the pay packages, like this is what you make every week, this is what it would be every month, and this is what it is for the whole enchilada. That way you can kind of see,
right?
Like, oh, okay, that's how that money plays out.
Yeah, it is very helpful, actually. And so that will be something that we will actually talk about in another episode on Stronger Nurse News. We're going to be talking about like retirement, because there's a lot of nurses out there that are not able to retire because, well, they didn't save enough money. So, of course, like they looking, and I know a lot of nurses that are just like, I'm going to work till I die. And so some of them go into travel nursing later in life. And so I know they're also paying attention to what's going on in the industry right now, because a lot of them are just like, should I leave my staff job, retirement, and just start travel nursing? But if they're going to start capping pay rates, is it even worth my time to do it? Right?
I mean, can you retire and still work?
I mean, yes, it depends on your age. Like, so some of the retirement accounts you have to start withdrawing from. So like your Roth IRA, your 401k and stuff like that, they have a required minimum distribution age. Huh?
Is it 65, I think?
No, it's like 72.
Oh, well, I'm kind of like, I'm probably going to work for the rest of my life because I'm so energetic and like bubbly and outgoing that I can't see myself just stopping and being like, what do I want to do today? Do I want to base? Like, that's not me. I'm like, let's go.
Right. And so a lot of nurses are like that. They never quit. Right. So they want to be able to find something to do. So a lot of them go into travel nursing later in their life. So I'm also speaking to them.
Yeah. I've had those too, like, oh, we just retired and we want to travel. So we figured we just, I think that's great, honestly. And now you see this is girls. Hi, girls. We found her after Thanksgiving on the side of the road and we nursed her back to health and she's never gone away since then. So
yeah, she looks very happy.
Remind.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. This is another episode with your girl Stronger Nurse and Janine with Stronger Nurse News. And we were talking about travel nurse salary cap, like the future. And once again, we debunked that BS. And basically, I'm going to tell you, like we're going to tell everybody else, travel nursing is here to stay. We will see you in our next episode. Bye.